Hey, I'm Connie. Welcome back to my channel. Just to let you know, this will be done in parts because I'm bringing you along on my walk onto one of my favorite places. It is right now, it is the very late summer. I think it's August 21 right now. So the weather's a little bit better. It's still a little bit muggy here in North Carolina, but we've had some weather the last few weeks that felt like Miami. And now it feels a lot better. It's a lot nicer. So I figured instead of going to the gym, I wanted to come and take a walk, and I could also start my video with you, which I have been thinking about for a while of doing. And it has to deal with I'm just looking to see people coming. So none of it matters. It's okay. I'm in a spot where you won't see them. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about some things that are great about not just being retired, but also just getting older. Because society kind of puts aging as if it's something in the negative. And, everything's anti-aging this, anti-aging that. But you know what? There's nothing to anti about. Aging is natural, and there's a lot of good things about it. I'm 65 years old at this stage in my life, and I've been retired for maybe, I think since 2022, so we're going on in November, 3 years. And this is what I have noticed just has happened, not necessarily because of retirement, although retirement does kind of impact certain things that I'm going to talk about. But these are some things that I have noticed that are benefits of getting older. And I want to also preface this by saying, some of these things may be more individual to me and maybe other people. Maybe you find that you're different in that area. If you are, just let me know in the comments. It makes for a great discussion. So we will start with one thing, which is how, as an older person, I don't tend to go shopping as much. Not food shopping, of course, because food shopping is exempt. But it's not that you don't shop, you don't go shopping. Sometimes you will. Sometimes you go out with your daughter-in-law, which is also always a blessing. Or you just will go out and you're out buying something else, and you'll buy something, you'll pick something up. Oh, that'd be nice. But you tend to be a little bit more cognizant of your finances, if not working anymore, so you make dollars stretch more, of course. But it's not bad either. As a minimalist, I am more careful about what I buy, and it's more deliberate. Like recently, I went out to get something for my centerpiece for my table, because autumn is coming. Of course, we love autumn. So you don't need more clothes. You need less clothes in a sense, because you're not working every single day. You don't have to have appearances. You do need nice clothes. You need different. Let me go. You need nice clothes. You need to have something like we just had a death in the family, beloved uncle. So you needed, my husband needed his suit, which he already had, and I already had some dresses and other things, so we were able to wear those, to take with us if you go to church. And then, you're just a little bit more purposeful with things. You're not as easy just to buy stuff. And you also just, as I said, as either, maybe it's just as a minimalist too, you just make do with what you have, as long as it's in good shape, and it'll last you, So we don't tend to do that. And really things like trinkets, and I'm not one really that much anymore for trinkets or little knickknacks and things like that. It has to be something that really means something and catches my attention. You may be different and you may love that stuff, and if you do, that's great, but I have noticed that at this age, I don't do as much shopping. And if I do, it usually is something that I say, well, I could use a really nice jacket. Mine is kind of getting, worn out and stuff. But you're kind of different in that sense. You're a little bit more careful. You're a little bit more particular in what you buy. you know, and that to me is a plus. Another thing that has changed now that I've gotten older is I'm not involved in that whole diet culture. I'm not talking about health. I'm not talking about having to take care of yourself for um, health conditions or just because you want to take care of yourself, because that's another part of this. But I'm talking about the actual diet culture, which was very prevalent when I was a teen in the 70s. And then later on, when I was a young wife and mother in the 80s, where you had this pressure to be skinny. You had to be a certain weight and you had to stay at that and you had to be a certain size and it was better to be a size 0. It was even mentioned in movies, oh, she's big, she's a size 4. And even today where even at this age you see it, because like you have seen like in certain celebrities on magazine covers or in articles, or actresses and other type of celebrities where they'll be in a bikini and they're in their 60s and 70s, and the connotation is, if you're not like that, there's a problem. Listen, if you want to wear a bikini at whatever weight you are, then go ahead. It's a free country. If you're confident enough to do that, then that's fine. But what I have moved away from is that constant calorie counting, where you are totally, I'm cognizant of what I eat, and how much I eat during the day, but a lot of it just happens naturally, because of the fact that as you get older, your digestion kind of slows down a bit. You feel full and it's uncomfortable. You also have to be aware of, for example, I have high cholesterol, so I have to stop myself from eating certain things and greasy foods and things like that. But that's not diet culture. It moves into another area where you're caring about your health and you're caring about this machine working well and top notch, It's also where back in the 80s, everybody, joined the gym, and it was almost punishing, that you had to make time for 2 hours in the gym every single day. Well, I don't. As a matter of fact, I could have gone to the gym today, but I've had some pain in my shoulder, in my shoulder in the back. So I said, no, not today. Today I'm going to go for my walk. It's late August. The weather's not quite as hot as it's been, and it's comfortable, and I enjoy being outside, and I love walking. I will always love walking. I pray I'm always able to walk. So I've put in almost, by the time I finish, it'll be about 7,000 or 8,000 steps. And that's great. That's great for my heart. I'm thinking about my heart. I'm thinking about staving off diabetes too, as much as possible. It also becomes a thing where you start to use just common sense. Okay, I can't eat always junk. I can't always eat things that are processed. I have to think about making sure that I have proteins, and lean proteins are better, and so are vegetables. There's a lot of vegetables I like. There's fruits, there's other things, and you incorporate that because you're taking care of yourself. You take care of yourself the best you can, because that helps, like I said, that helps this all run better. So it's not a thing about getting into a bikini. My sister and I had that conversation because, she's also been, she's also struggled with that, with the whole diet culture thing. That's kind of good in a sense, because when you are working that's being talked about all the time. I'm on a diet. I'm doing this. I'm losing weight, and it affects you in that sense. So once you're out of that, you're not around that either. But also as a person, when you get older, it just doesn't. You kind of filter out what you have experienced and what you know, and you kind of figure out for yourself what's good for you and what's good for your body. What are the numbers that you really got to pay attention to, and it's what the doctor will tell you at your visit. Those are the numbers that you have to worry about. What's on the scale, yeah, but you have to also worry about your numbers and following what's good for yourself. So I don't follow that anymore. There's a freedom to that. I don't have to feel like that. I don't feel like I have to be as skinny as somebody else. You know, if that's like my main goal in life, that's just, I'm sorry that at one point it seemed like that was made to be like the main goal in our lives, and it just isn't anymore. You know, my main goal in life is to take care of myself so I can see my granddaughter and my grandsons, you know, graduate from high school and get married, if that's possible. God grants me that, you know, and to be there with my husband for many years. So that's my main goal. That's my main goal with what I eat and what I drink, and what I do with my body, exercise wise. And you come to the point too where if you're going to make time for exercise as an older person, it has to be something that you can do, because we have limitations at this stage. You know, maybe you are not able to do something that's super high impact. So make it something that's fun and enjoyable that you look forward to having, you know. And that's what I have come to with that. So that's another thing that has changed in my life, and for the better, and age has had a part of that. The other thing, and it's the third thing, and it's something that I've always kind of been like that too, you know, is that you realize that you are not everybody's cup of tea. That's just the truth. I've always been like that to a certain degree, but of course, when you're younger, you tend to be a little bit more. It's easier to influence you, and your self esteem is more delicate. As you get older, you know who you are, you know your strengths, you know your weaknesses, you know those that matter the most, and those are the ones that you care about what they think more, you know, and you are less persuaded to let someone else you know compare you, force you into comparing you with them. That's their life, you know. Maybe someone else is more materialistic, is more this is what this is their journey, but you come to a point where you know what your journey is, and you're not so easily swayed. And if you like me, that's wonderful. If you don't, you know, well, you just move on. You don't have to be mean or anything like that. But it's very freeing to not have to worry what others think. You know, you just always try to do what is right. You try to do, you know, um, what is kind to other people, and you don't worry about that. You just move forward. So anyway, those are the things that the three of the things. There's a lot to love about getting older, but those are three of the things that I wanted to share with you. As you can tell, my walk is over. I'm about ready to head home. I'm over by the library, actually. I had a beautiful part, but there was someone who kept walking back and forth, so I didn't want to have that distract you. Thank you for being with me. If you feel differently about stuff that I talked about, or if you want to add to it, please leave a comment. Please like. If you've enjoyed this content, please subscribe. And thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming today. So until the next time, I'll see you in the next video. God bless.